And thank you all for joining us today to get a sneak peek at the newest project out of our division, the Disney animated app for iPad. I'm Mark Walker, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Disney Interactive Entertainment, the group behind this great project we're about to show you. Before we show you the app, I just want to share with you and take a quick moment to express how incredibly excited I am about this app. Not only because it's a beautiful product and an entirely new way to experience Disney's legacy in producing animated feature movies, but because this product aligns so perfectly with the goals and mission of our division. Disney Interactive is constantly looking for new ways to bring our guests closer to Disney products and stories they love on the digital platforms that they prefer. We strive to build upon and extend the legacy of storytelling in meaningful ways and bring consumers special entertainment with heart. And this app represents one of those rare moments when technology, art, and great content perfectly converge to create an experience that's entirely new. Through partnership among Disney Interactive, Walt Disney Animation Studios, Disney Worldwide Publishing, and the very successful premium app developer TouchPress, we created this app which uses the technology of the iPad for the very first time to provide fans with unprecedented access to exclusive content in the Studio Archives department. This is something I can't stress enough. It's a huge deal. Much of the content that you'll see in this app is literally in the vault at the studio lot under lock and key. Most employees can't even touch it. They can't get close to it. They can't access it. They can't manipulate it. They can't hold it in their hands. And that's what's really, really special about this app. And that's what we aspire to do with it, is to bring our guests really, really close to this very rare and exclusive content and allow them, through the capacities of iPad, to hold and manipulate and experience this content in whole new ways. Through this app, fans can immerse themselves in 90 years of Disney film history with access to the art and technology behind all 53 full-length animated feature films. And our guests will be able to discover the animation process through hands-on interactive activities that are directly adapted from the actual tools used by Disney animators to create films like Wreck-It Ralph and the upcoming feature animation Frozen. Our hope is not only will this entertain guests across a wide spectrum of demographics, but will also inspire a whole new generation of animators. My own kids think that everything exists at the touch of a button and really have little appreciation for the vast amount of human endeavor that's behind things like a great animated film. And so I'm hoping this app will help them realize that they're people, they're real people and real ideas and real effort and endeavor behind every movie they see and frankly every app that they use. So at this point, I'm now going to turn it over to Dave Bossert from Walt Disney Animation Studios and Teo Gray, who's one of the founders of TouchPress. We're going to take you through a live demonstration of the product. Thank you all again, and I hope you enjoy the demo.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mark, for the introduction, and thank you all for joining us here today. I'm Dave Bossert. I'm producer and creative director here at Walt Disney Animation Studios Special Projects, and I'm also co-author of this app with Teo Gray. And I got to tell you something, I am really excited about this. I don't often get excited about stuff that we do because, well, we're kind of jaded sometimes, We're sort of in it every day, but this is absolutely exciting. Teo's going to give you a full demo. But before he does, I wanted to share with you a few features in this app which really illuminate the creative process and technology behind our films. And if we can get the iPad up there, that'd be great. So I wanted you to see this, and I'm just going to step through this. The app is comprised really of three main sections, first of which are the chapters, which I'm going to really talk about here. And you can see, you can scroll through this carousel with different topics. What we did was, we have a collection of animators, artists, technicians that brought their expertise to this app to help create an incredibly immersive, authentic experience, which really represents how we're making our films here at the studio. And you go through these chapters, and you're going to really be reminded of the company's rich legacy of art and technology going hand in hand. And I just want to show you a couple of these things. As you can see, these chapters are interactive. So if we scroll to Art in Motion, I'm going to tap on that and open it up. It's our first landing page. And really the Art in Motion chapter actually steps us through the first 90 years of Walt Disney Animation history, if you will. We've got various images embedded, and all of these are touchable. If I touch on this, we get a little caption. We can see Alice. So we really touch from the early animation that Walt and Roy did with the Alice comedies in 1924-25. But really, this is all about the feature films from Snow White through Frozen, which is coming out this November. So I really want to just touch on a couple of things here in this chapter. One of the things that's really exciting about this is that we've put some art and some assets into this app that you haven't seen before, and this is one of them. I want to bring this up. This is a clip of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit from Hungry Hobos, and I know some of you are familiar with the fact that this was a lost cartoon. It was lost up until a couple of years ago, and the studio was able to acquire a 16 millimeter print that surfaced, and we did a beautiful restoration on it, and we included a clip of it in here, and it's really something that hasn't been seen for probably over 50 years or more. So that was kind of exciting. The other thing that I thought was really great was we were able to show off some material from Frozen. I mean, the film's not coming out until November. They're in the throes in this building right now of finishing that movie. I can tell you it's absolutely spectacular. I love this film, but they were able to give us let me click on this, a clip from the movie. So this is actually a test clip that was done probably 6 months ago or so, but they gave it to us anyway because they wanted us to be able to share this with the Disney fans out there. And there's sound with this, but I'm only going to show you a little bit because it's actually a lengthy clip, which is really neat. And I'm going to jump off of this. So there's a bunch of Frozen assets throughout this entire app, which is really neat. I also wanted to jump in and show you the next chapter, which is Story. And we sat down and did an interview with John Lasseter, and we talked to him at length about story, what makes a good story, how he approaches story here at Walt Disney Animation Studios. So we have plenty of quotes from John in there, but what's really neat, John is contemporary, he's here today, he's making these great films with us here, but we also have Walt, and we have this clip of Walt from the 1950s talking about story. Can we just up the sound just a little on this one?
Potential story ideas exist all around us, and our story men have been.
So you can hear from Walt himself where stories come from. You know how they develop stories into these beautiful works of art. I also wanted to show you a super zoomable clip. So what's really neat about this. This is a Bill Peet storyboard from 101 Dalmatians. And what you can do is you can actually, I'm going to try and lift this up, but we'll show this to you later. You can actually pinch and zoom on top of the device, and you can actually zoom right in. You can go right down to the individual story panels, and you can actually go through this entire storyboard, and you can read the dialogue below it. this is just an amazing example of some of the assets that are in this app, and it's really going to inspire a lot of students that are in art school today. They're studying animation. They're going to be able to actually use this as a study device. So it's just absolutely fantastic. In addition to the clips, we've unearthed some very special artifacts for this app. One of my favorites is the Pinocchio maquette. This maquette was locked away, literally locked away, in the basement of the animation building over on the studio lot. And it's kind of an interesting story. They had a steel cabinet, and inside this cabinet, they had they were using it for storage. When they finished Pinocchio, they had this maquette of Pinocchio. It was a little marionette that they had made as reference for the animators. And when they were done with the film, they just took the maquette and they put it in the steel cabinet, closed the doors, and a decade or two passed by. It was still sitting there. Nobody was doing anything with it. Then they decided, we got to run some new electrical conduit for the, they were doing upgrades in the building. And they ran this electrical conduit around the cabinet, okay? So the cabinet's against the wall. They didn't move the cabinet. They just ran the conduit around the cabinet. And it stayed locked for probably 55 years. Nobody was able to get into it. So one day, a number of years ago, they rip out the conduit, and they open up this cabinet, and what do they find? They find the Pinocchio maquette sitting in there exactly in the position it was laid back in 1940-41. And I'm just going to get down to this and show you what's so cool about it. So here's this maquette. Beautiful, isn't it? One of a kind. When they found it, it had a little bit of restoration done to it. But this is something you can't just take out of a cabinet and show people. Not even us, the people that are working here. We can go over and look at it through a glass cabinet. We're not going to be able to handle it. And what's really great about this app is that we can actually spin this just by swiping our finger. We can rotate this maquette and actually look at it and study it, and we can zoom in to some degree on it. I mean, this is just so exciting, and I'm so thrilled that we can actually share this with all the fans that are out there. That's what's so great about this. Is that cool?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little excitement. It's only 10 in the morning. I think it's fantastic. I love this. Anyway, I can sit and play with this all day, but they want me to move along. So, the next thing I wanted to show you was actually I wanted to show you a clip in the backgrounds chapter, and this is kind of neat because you can take a look at this opening scene from Beauty and the Beast. It's absolutely a beautiful multiplane-like shot that was done in caps, and we talk about the multiplane, and we talk about caps, we talk about how we're making our movies today, but you get to see this clip. But what's really kind of neat is that you can then tap on the actual layers of artwork. Not only can you bring that up, you can actually shut off layers, and you can actually see how the shot was put together and all the different layers of the background. Right down to, you can take that one off, you can bring it back on. And I'm just so thrilled about this, because sometimes it's a little hard when you're trying to describe these things to people. Now we can pick up a device and actually show them, and that's the great thing about this. Okay, so as you can see, I'm trying to stick to my script, ladies, okay? As you can see, these experiences are very deep and special, and we are so excited to share with the world the art and technology behind our films. Beyond its entertainment and nostalgia value, I believe, and we all do, this entire team, we had a really incredible group of people get together to put this together. Really believe that this will inspire the next generation of animators. In the same way that, and I brought this along because I wanted to illustrate, in the same way Frank and Ollie's Illusion of Life did, back in 1980 when this came out. And this is the copy I bought when I was in an animation program up at Cal Arts. So this is considered to be the animation Bible, if you will. And I have used and abused this book for so many years. It is just a fantastic reference. And one of the great things that we were able to do when we were in the building this app and we got to the animation chapter, we decided, you know, we want to talk about animation. Well, you can't talk about animation without talking about the principles, the 12 principles of animation that Frank and Ollie had put together. Now, Frank and Ollie were part of the 9 old men here at the studio. These are the guys that were the pioneers. They trailblazed how we create feature animated films here at Disney. And in the late 1970s, Frank and Ollie sat down and they wrote Disney Animation, The Illusion of Life. And in that, they came up with the 12 principles of animation. These were principles that they developed. There was a vocabulary that they developed over the years on how to do great Disney animation. Squash and stretch, overlapping, staging, appeal, all of these things. And we wanted to include that, so we reached out to the families of Frank and Ollie, and we got their permission to actually include that in the app, which is really pretty spectacular. And if you go down into this lower portion here, all the way over to your right, you see Mickey sitting there, and you tap on that, and up comes one of the principles, which is staging, but you get all of them in here. And I have it set up so that I can just show you. This is so cool. In the book, and I'm just going to open this to show you guys. In the book, you've got all this great artwork listed in here. But they're showing you just individual frames. And they'll do a series of frames. What we were able to do was actually create the animation. So it takes these principles to a whole new level, because now you can actually play a clip with the principle and understand it. Not only that, we supplemented the 12 principles with quotes from some of our contemporary animators like Eric Goldberg and Clay Cadis and Amy Speed and Mark Henn, people that are working in the building today who reference these principles and use them in today's filmmaking. So that's what's really exciting about it. Now, I probably have run over, like I normally do, because I'm so excited about it. But I want to introduce my my co-author, my partner, great guy, Teo Gray, who's a founding member of Touch Press. And these are the guys that really were able to take all these beautiful art assets and put them all into this iPad app. And he's going to step you through the whole thing and show you how it all works. So, ladies and gentlemen, Teo Gray.
Great. Well, thanks for that great introduction. So that book, that's an amazing book. It's incredible to, read the people who invented this stuff in their own words, talking about what it was like back then when, when animation was new and they were just kind of, making this stuff up as they were going along. It's kind of intimidating, actually, to get involved with trying to create a new app, a new way of telling the story of Disney animation when there's so many great books that have come before, so many great ways in which this story has been told. Like, who are we to try to add something to that legacy in the form of an app? So yeah, you guys are going to be the judge of whether we've done something interesting or not, but I think we have. I think we've done something pretty cool. And I want to show you an overview of the different things that this app can do. So as you've seen, it's basically, there's two parts to it. There's something that's kind of book-like. We don't really like calling it a book. It's something more than a book, but it's a story. It tells how Disney animated movies are made today, as well as the history of kind of how they got there. And then there's these series of interactive experiences that you see along the bottom. Let me start with telling you about the story. So as John Lester and everyone else around here says, it all starts with a story. So our first chapter is story. Then there's visual development and character, defining characters, layouts, animation. These are sort of all the different stages that you go through. Each chapter is one phase of production all the way through the final process of assembling everything and releasing it. So the real, go on these pages, and it looks a lot like a page might look in a book. But the real power of these pages, of course, is what these images can do. And Dave showed you some of them. What's unique and important about this app is that it's not just some of them that do that. Every one of them does something. This is Dumbo. Dumbo should move. Dumbo is not just a static drawing, and so he does. This clip from Tangled, this is one of my favorites. I mean, these are amazing characters. They come through, their personality comes out through the way in which they move. That's what you want to see when you're talking about that particular set of characters from Tangled. At Touch Press, our kind of hallmark is do it all, do everything comprehensively. So, here, every single one of these images, if you touch it, it walks, it talks, it sings and dances. It does what it's supposed to do. Now, of course, sometimes that's not moving. Sometimes it's a piece of biz dev art or a character design or something, and so it'll be super zoomable. You can go in and see the brush strokes. This just depends on what it ought to be. We created a special full screen viewer for video, where instead of thinking about the video just as it's a clip and you play it, that's not the way that animators think about video, think about animation. They think of it more like a series of individual images that need to work together. So we let you actually zoom in. I'm pinching down here on the timeline to the point where I've actually got individual frames, and I can swipe through them one frame at a time. And it's designed to kind of bring you closer to the animation, bring you closer to the experience that the animators had when they were making this stuff. And it really does that. It makes you feel very close to the subject in a way that the iPad is particularly good at, because it's such a close-in kind of intimate experience that you have with an iPad. A really nice example of that is these maquettes that Dave showed you one of. So we've got a bunch of them. And you would not believe how difficult it is to get permission to go in there with a bunch of camera gear and take these things, and like we were not allowed to touch them. This is curators with cotton gloves on that pick these things up, put them on our equipment, and we photographed them. And there's a bunch of them in here. You can rotate them, you can enlarge them. And this is really something I encourage you to play with this when you have an opportunity a little later, because you really have to sort of try this for yourself to get a feeling for just how close you feel to how much like real objects these are when they're under your finger. It's kind of a funny story about just how close an experience that is. We worked last year with Her Majesty the Queen over in England on an app about her extensive collection of Leonardo da Vinci drawings. And we were talking about doing an app for the crown jewels, because that would be like the crown jewels of our publishing company, to be able to pick up this crown, literal crown, and rotate it and just feel like you're part of it. And they actually decided in the end that was not right. That the people, the public, shouldn't really be able to touch these sort of sacred objects quite that directly when they experience what it was like to do this to objects. So we didn't get to do the crown jewels. Instead, we're here doing the crown jewels of Disney in this particular way. So that's how we've taken kind of this behind-the-scenes access to a new level. We take these objects and we give them to you in a way that has not really been possible before, where you can directly kind of interact with them. But we've also tried to give you a different experience, even beyond that, using the interactivity of the iPad, to let you go into the studio, into the vaults, and actually become part of the process. And I want to show you a nice example of that. So we're talking here about these interactives at the bottom. These are interactive experiences that reinforce what you've read about in the story part of the app. This one is about Elsa's snow. So Elsa is one of the princesses in Frozen. It's very, very simple. It's just a blank screen. There's nothing to learn. It's just a blank screen. But if you swipe your finger, and I know you can't see me doing this, but I'm swiping my finger across the screen there. When you do that, a flurry of snow follows. And I can make just any path that I like, and it will follow that. So this is a particle system visual effects algorithm that's running here. It's modeled very directly on the real one that was used in the actual film. All right, it's only 100,000 snowflakes instead of a couple million like they use in the movie, but it's running in real time on an iPad. When we showed this to the visual effects team of Frozen, after we'd gone through a bunch of iterations with them, they were like, wow, this is amazing. I wish it was this easy when we're doing it for the movie. And because this is meant to be a sort of an environment for learning, not just playing, you can just play with it, but you can also turn on layers here that, this is all explained, of course, in the text, layers that explain how this algorithm works, like how is this visual effect put together. You can do things like slow it down, and slow it way down. You can even control parameters of the simulation. This is basically a physics engine that's running, and it's carefully adjusted so that the snow looks right, but you can mess with it if you like. You can make it too turbulent, you can make it go too fast or too slow. You can do all kinds of things to mess with it. And basically you're art directing this simulation in the same way that the actual art director would do that in the movie, and using technology that's the direct sort of descendant of the real thing. That's never been possible before. That requires an interactive medium like this, and a lot of work to make that possible. And kind of the ultimate example of that we have in this app here is this animation workshop. So this is a 3D CG model of Vanellope based directly from the actual model used in the movie. It's the real thing, not the genuine article. It's not some kind of fake Vanellope. This is the real Vanellope in every sense of the word. And we've placed it into not a video game environment, but an animation environment based very much on the way that that kind of software works when you're making movies. So I can pick up, here I picked up her wrist sort of. I can move it around. Yes, I can do that, because if you're in a real animation program, you can do that. You can pose her any way you like. We can zoom. We can pick up the entire model, move it around. We've got inverse kinematics, as it's called, so the feet stay rooted. We can pick the feet up, move around. It's real animation software, but simplified and adjusted so that it's not a multi-month-long learning curve. It's more like a couple minutes learning curve. And it lets you do keyframe animation. So you see down on the bottom here, you see this timeline of several thumbnails. When I swipe with my finger on the timeline, you'll see that she's being moved, smoothly interpolated between these two key poses, which is exactly the way that works in the animation software. And this has been set up with a couple of key poses here that make a little animated sequence. And I've messed up the first one, so she's going to kind of look funny at the beginning. But if I play it, it's now going to play through this animation sequence. Let's loop it. And because this is not a video, this is not sort of a canned thing, this is a 3D model being put through its paces, I can actually zoom around, I can zoom in, I can zoom out, I can look at the action from behind, I can take a look at her eyes, what's going on with her eyes there. You can tell stories, you can make animated sequences, there's no arbitrary limit to how long you can make these things. But I think what's really amazing about this is the button up here. You can share these animations with your friends. You can make Vanellope, tell a story, and then you can post that as a video on YouTube or Facebook or through email, however you want to share it. And anybody can see it. And if you share it by email, you actually get not only a video file that anybody can watch, but an animation file, which if your friend that you're sending it to has a copy of the app, they can actually take that, load it into the app, and then start working with the animation that you made. So they can add to it or change it and send it back, and you can kind of collaborate and build up little stories. So it's a real animation tool, it's a serious thing, and it's using this real model. And that's, no one's ever done that before. That's never been possible with Disney animated characters. So there's a bunch of other things. I'm not going to show you all of them. You'll have a chance to look at them all. But I want to say something first before we close about scale and scope, because a lot of people think of apps as kind of small things. And even a really good app, even some of the greatest apps, they do one thing, or they have a sample of things in it, and they're kind of small. And that's really not what this app is about. This app is about everything, inclusiveness, and just kind of, let's not pull any punches. Let's make everything work. All the pictures move, all the clips are there. And let me kind of take you down a little path down the rabbit hole to show you what I really mean by comprehensive. So we have this thing called a timeline. And if we zoom all the way out, so this is basically a filmography, I think is what it's called, of all the films, all the full-length animated feature films made by Walt Disney Animation Studios, from Snow White through Frozen. And now we can start zooming in. So we zoom in. First thing that happens is some of them that didn't fit before become visible. I'm basically just pinching here. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but you zoom in here. So now we're seeing a movie poster from each of the films. If I touch one of the posters, now we get a little more detail. So we've got the poster, we've also got a little synopsis of the plot. We've got pictures of all the major characters here. All these characters here. And of course, you can go to different movies. But, pictures of characters, that's not good enough for this app. So these are actually all clips with sound, which of course gives you, just instantly a much better appreciation of what these characters are all about. And we have that for every film. So every major character, every film walks and talks at you, shows you what it's doing. That's pretty comprehensive right there. But if you keep going, we've also got a listing of all the major feature songs that occur in that movie. Now, we couldn't actually put the entirety of every one of those songs in there. There's some limit to what we can do, but we do have the listings, and you can hear the iTunes preview, and you can go to iTunes if you want to get it for your library. And it's a very nice catalog of all the songs. So we've got the movie posters, the plot synopsis, walking, talking clips for every major character, all the feature songs. That's pretty comprehensive. But wait, there's more. I feel like I'm selling you steak knives here. So you see the little bar of color down on the bottom here. That's what we call a color map, and it maps out the dominant colors in each frame of the movie from start to finish. So on the left is the beginning of the movie, on the right is the end of the movie. And you'll see, so for example here, Little Mermaid, you see how sometimes it's kind of bluish, that's when they're underwater. And sometimes it's kind of more earth tones, that's when they're above the water. So you can kind of see, when there's dark periods in the movie, they're literally dark. When there's happy times, they typically are brighter. And you can kind of see the flow of the action throughout the movie with this color map. But if you're not getting it, if you're not kind of understanding what's happening at a given point, you can touch it, and it will then show you a thumbnail image. I'm now swiping back and forth in this timeline. And you can see it's tracking my finger, and it's showing you exactly what's going on. If you've seen the movie, any one of these thumbnails, it instantly reminds you of what's happening in that particular point in the movie. So we have basically the entire movie in thumbnail form, and it's not every frame, but we've got we have a swipeable thumbnail overview of this entire movie, and we have that for every movie. So we have every scene of every movie in thumbnail form. And maybe some of you figured out where this is going if you were watching closely in the trailer. We can bring this up full screen. So we now have all 52 of the ones they've finished. There's 53 total, but only 52 of them are finished. We can't make the color bar until it's finished. All the 52 full-length animated feature films made by Walt Disney Animation Studios, represented in a single image. This is it. And there's thumbnails everywhere. So when I'm going up and down this way, I'm going through time, from 1937 through 2012. If I pick a particular one, let go, I'm hearing this kind of the ambient music of the movie, and I'm seeing that whole movie. Pick another one, I see that whole movie. The Fantasia is great because it's got, I should go down the original Fantasia in particular. It has these wonderful blue, what's all that blue? Well, that's always when they've got the guy in the blue background. It took me a while when I first saw the color map to figure that out. So this is comprehensive defined. You can't get much more comprehensive than a thumbnail of every scene of every movie, all assembled in a way where you have this incredible overview of everything that this incredible company has done all in one place. And that's just one of the half dozen interactives that we have on the bottom here, which are themselves only half of the app as a whole. So I hope you've gotten some kind of an overview. I hope you all stay around to play with this yourselves a bit later. And thank you very much for coming.